so excited to, yep. So very excited to welcome Noemie. So I met Noemie at a GoMasterCoach training program, and the first time she enters the room, Noemie is like, I can see Pepe smiling, I can see. Yes, she's here and she has such an amazing energy. It's really, you will see that today, but it's really striking and it totally changes the atmosphere in the room when Noemie is in the room. And she, you will see, the topic of the day is really about thriving, and she's really, she walks the talk, and she's really, she leads by example, and I've been fascinated to see Noemie during the training program and to see this huge amount of energy, generosity as well, this strength, but also this ability to be vulnerable. And I found it very, very touching. So who's Noemie? I mean, you will share a bit more about your trainings and why you're here, but I just want to quickly introduce who you are. So you're an expert in digital transformation and innovation. Noemie has over 20 years of international experience in legal, in healthcare, retail, FSI, and government. What she's doing now, she's 41 and she never felt better in both her mind and body, and she wants to help others, especially women, feel the same.
Sorry, gentlemen, you too, I promise. Yes. This is an equal opportunity chat, okay?
Absolutely. So this is our mission to empower busy individuals to reach their wellness goals using evidence-based models like positive psychology and behavioral change theories. Over to you, Noemie, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and expertise with all of us.
Wow, well, thank you for this incredibly generous introduction. I feel it's a very, very kind. I feel like the expectation about my energy is quite high now, right? So although it is 5 p.m. on a Thursday, on what I'm sure has been a busy week, hopefully I can channel that energy through the screen and make this useful and informative and really practical, right? And so, as Geraldine has mentioned, spent my career in innovation, digital transformation, so change, really. And late last year, early this year, just recognized and realized how unhappy I was in my job. That might be relatable to some of us, to some of you guys here in the room. And just decided, took the bold step to take some time to kind of rethink what I wanted to do, what I was passionate about, and try to find alignment between what I'm passionate about and what I could do. And that has led me to health coaching, and I'm going to tell you a bit more about that. So let me start by sharing my screen. On a scale from 1 to 10, how likely is tech to fail us at some point today? I'd say it's an 8, but let's just, can you guys see my screen? Yes. Okay, great. So I am a newly certified health coach and behavior change specialist. And really my mission is to help empower busy people to really rethink their lifestyle and try to encourage and empower them to undertake some behavior change. Busy people, I mean, aren't we all really? But I think it is important because in a world of competing priorities, looking after ourselves, you know, with career and family and is not always the priority, right? And so how to make sustainable, positive changes to our lifestyle when we are all so busy and occupied with so many different things, right? I talk a little bit about what to me well-being is. It might be different for you, but I'll give you a bit of an idea of well-being is. But so what's health coaching? So some of you are coaches already, so you're quite familiar with the concept of coaching. Health and well-being coaching is really about, entering into that thought-provoking collaborative process, but with a focus on health and wellness goals, right? So we're trying to foster sustainable behavior changes when it comes to health and well-being through these thought-provoking conversations. And the difference, a lot of us have, potentially personal trainers, nutritionists, physicians, physiotherapists, and that's awesome, right? As a health coach, I'm not in competition with these professionals. They have their expertise. I always say I'm not the expert. I can certainly share knowledge and tools when it comes to fitness, nutrition, mental well-being. But really, the experts in the room when it comes to health coaching is the client, right? And helping them identify what really matters to them, defining what health and well-being means to them. That might be very, very different from what it is to me. Defining those goals, potentially overcoming, barriers, very practical, like time management. We've talked about competing priorities, but also, barriers like self-limiting beliefs. What is keeping you stuck? When it comes to health and well-being, it also comes to body image and trying to shed that identity, and then building healthier habits to maintain a long-term sustainable well-being. I have 5 pillars of health and well-being. To me, it is about moving your body. It's about nutrition and good quality nutrition, and avoiding things like alcohol and cigarettes and etc. It is sleep. I don't think I have to tell you about the importance of sleep, mental well-being, and social connections. And so how does that translate into my health coaching practice? Well, it can be, a client wanted to develop an exercise routine that fits in their life, right? There is plenty of information, knowledge out there on what you should be doing when it comes to physical activity and fitness, and a lot of BS, which I feel very strongly about as well. There's a lot of experts, there's a lot of so-called experts. So, do you need a health coach? Well, listen, if you can get a program that works for you and implement it, that's awesome, right? But how do you make it work in your own life if you're finding difficulties in sustaining a fitness routine? Same with balanced eating, improving your sleep habits for better rest and recovery, how to build resilience, to manage stress and the stresses of daily life. And also a big, really important aspect of health coaching is helping people navigate chronic illnesses. So that can go from hypertension, you just had a bad diagnosis around, hey, I need to, it just came up last week, I need to increase my bone mineral density. What does that mean? I just have a heart condition, how do I implement an exercise program? I am dealing with obesity, how do I move my body in a way that makes sense? So in a nutshell, that's what health and well-being is. I will use today some health and well-being examples, but I think that the content and the framework apply to a lot of different use cases and a lot of different habits you may want to share. My own well-being journey and my own highs and lows and roller coaster really over the last couple of years certainly has led me here now as a health coach, and also informs my philosophy, right? Very quickly, if you had taken a screenshot, and Agathe actually was there for a lot of it, if you had taken a screenshot of me 5 years ago, it was someone who was not sleeping, focusing, prioritizing work, and therefore deprioritizing my own well-being, my relationship with my husband, drinking too much, not sleeping enough, eating like shit. A huge problem with alcohol, smoking. I hate before and after pictures. I will not indulge with that, but really that snapshot of me 5 years ago was someone who was feeling very different from what I'm feeling now, right? And decided that I didn't want to live like this. There's been a lot of trial and error and ups and downs, but as Geraldine very kindly said, you know, I'm at a stage now where I feel great in my body, but also in my mind. And I always say it's my mind right now is a really nice place to be. And so I'm really passionate about helping people navigate their own. Hopefully you don't have the laundry list of bad habits that I had. But it is really, really important to me to, you know, through my experience, my knowledge, but mainly through those coaching conversations, kind of helping people navigate their own change journey. I think if I could do it, so can you. Very quickly, you're here. Awesome. Thank you so much, beautiful people, for spending 90 minutes with me. Try to be present. I know that some of you are in the office, back of a cab, whatever. Try to be here and invest this time for yourself and for the group. If possible, try to use video, and simply because it's so awkward when someone is speaking and I can't see them. So show your beautiful faces. We're gonna have some activities as much as possible. Feel free to participate, listen to each other. Be mindful of the time and try to be open-minded. And one thing that I didn't list here, but please, we have a small group, right? So we can have those intimate conversations. Feel free to jump in, interrupt me, ask questions in the chat. I'm sharing now, so I'm not able to see the chat, but maybe Fongo or Geraldine, you can kind of flag it out. Oh no, I can see the chat now. Yeah, so I'll keep an eye on the chat. Please, you know, unmute yourself. Do ask questions. Disagree with me. Let's go on this journey together where we can try to make sense of all of this. I'll pause. If you had to leave this presentation in 5 minutes, okay? These are the key takeaways, like 3 key messages before we dive into habits and how to design them, and 3 key really important messages, right? We're talking about thriving habits, right? We're talking about change, and potentially change that about things that make you unhappy, right? I talked about my relationship with alcohol, or, you know, being with overweight or whatever. These are habits, you know, changing habits about things that, you know, hopefully don't make you too unhappy, but that might strike a chord, okay? And the first thing that I want to say, the problem isn't you, okay? If you have struggled to implement a fitness routine, lose weight, eat better, manage to do your 10,000 steps, whatever your goal is, okay? If you have struggled with it, the problem isn't you. There is nothing wrong with you, right? The problem is your system. Call it your strategy, your plan, your program, whatever. That's the problem, okay? So we want to approach change and driving new habits with a scientist hat. We're gonna experiment, we're gonna look at what works, what doesn't. But there is one thing very clear, the problem isn't you, okay? You don't lack grit, motivation. What is wrong with me? I should be exercising, although I have all the time in the world and I'm not doing it. You know, work context, oh, I'm a master procrastinator. Why am I like this, okay? The problem isn't you, the problem is your system. And so this presentation, this mini workshop, we're gonna focus on trying to improve the system, right? The second thing, motivation is overrated. Is it important? 100%. Can it, you know, drive you for a little bit? We've all had, you know, a bit of success during January New Year resolution. I've had a lot of failures, but hey, you know, we all know what motivation feels like, and it's awesome, right? But it's overrated. It is one of many levers that you can pull and push to try to get you to where you want to be. But this idea, and again, maybe it's triggering for me when I see this, you know, the wannabe Fitspo kind of Instagram influencers just trying to make you believe that you need to self-loathe and bully yourself into change. Motivation is overrated. It's awesome when it works. Oftentimes, you can only sustain it for a bit, for a tiny bit of time. How do you find other ways to get you to where you want to be? The third thing, and that is really, really important, and that has personally changed everything for me, right? You change best when you feel good about yourself, not when you're feeling bad. And I'm incredibly aware that after throwing shade at Instagram Fitspo influencers, this sounds very much like an Instagram, you know, bumper sticker. However, there is psychology, you know, this is rooted in psychology, concepts like self-efficacy. You change best when you're feeling good, when you're feeling confident about your ability to change, okay? The self-loathing, all of that stuff that might carry you a little bit for a little bit of time, in the long run, it's not working. So this whole idea of, you know, loving yourself to a better you is so true. And it is one of the fundamental mindset shifts, right? For me on my own personal well-being journey that really has changed everything, okay? You need to change, as I said, your system. There's nothing wrong with you. But if you want better outcomes, you're gonna need better habits. The outcomes is your output, right? That's where you get to. If you're not getting to where you want to be, you're gonna have to change your input, your habits. Recently, I was having a chat with someone, and she was like, I really dislike habits. I dislike routine. It is so boring. This is not how I want to live my life, right? I can understand, right? Like fundamentally, anyone who knows me knows that, you know, I'm not the type of person who's going to just love routine as a concept. Does it sound a bit boring? Yeah, maybe, right? But if what you're currently doing is not working and you need to find a tool to help you change and get to where you want to be, that's why habits matter, right? Small actions repeated consistently lead to better and really big results, right? When I was 20 kilos overweight, it wasn't that last donut that created, you know, additional weight, right? It was the 100 donuts, and well, for me, it was a lot of the alcohol that led me there, right? If I'm feeling strong in my body now, it is not that last workout that I did this morning that did it. It is the small action, the repeated, constant workout, and, you know, eating well and etc. All of these tiny habits that have led to significant change, right? So really, habits are the building blocks. It's 40% of our daily life. Anything that you do on a day-to-day basis, 40% is automatic. You don't have to think about it. Autopilot, right? So changing those habits are gonna lead you to better outcome. And then, of course, you know, this idea of autopilot, the automatic, right? You only have a limited, Barack Obama is the Democratic Convention at the moment, so I'm a bit of a political junkie. I love the drama of it all. Barack Obama had, when asked, why do you always wear the same suit when he was president? Why do you always wear the same suit? And his response was, and I'm paraphrasing, he's obviously a much better orator than I am, but his response was, well, out of all of the decisions that I have to make on a day-to-day basis, I don't want my outfit to be one of them, right? And we only have limited brain juice on a day-to-day basis. And we've already talked about the competing priorities. You need to think about work and your kids and, you know, all of the different things that you have to do during the day, right? So your habits and having implemented good habits also help you use your brain juices for something else. Now we'll talk, there's gonna be a bit of brain juice required to transform your habits initially, but then once you're in that state of autopilot, you don't have to think about it, right? And you're making automatically better decisions. So in the group chat, could everyone share either one habit that you'd like to start doing, one habit that you'd like to stop doing? You could share multiple ones, but something that pops up now, you're like, yeah, you know what? When I signed up for this, I was really hoping to maybe tackle this. Anything at all. So we're starting to get a few. Sleep early. That's a tough one for me as well. I'm still in the process of cracking that one. I could share some practical strategies. Stop emotional eating. Yeah. We'll talk about that as well. More time to make art. Oh, I'd love to know what kind of art you're making. Start doing deep breathing exercises 1 time per day for 5 minutes. This is already like nearly a smart goal. I love it. Stop sleeping very well. Start sleeping on time. Run twice a week and stop phone distractions. So that's my one now. I'm trying to break up with my phone and it's so hard. They are designed to make us addicted. Sleep, exercise, eating healthy, walking during the week, more disconnection on my phone during the day. Yeah. Thinking about how to burn off what I eat every time I eat something. Procrastinating. Yeah. As someone who finished those slides fully finished the slides about an hour ago, the procrastination thing hits hard as well. Spending more time with my parents and stop reading news before bed than ending up sleeping late. Yeah, I did a lot of that during COVID, a lot of doom scrolling. Great, thank you so much for sharing. More focused work time. Great, thank you so much for sharing, guys. We'll try to get back to it, to those examples. But thank you so much for sharing so candidly. This is it's awesome. I knew we were going to have a good group because it's a lot of coaches who love growth and self-development. Awesome. Okay, this is where I put my coaching hat aside, and for a second I'm going to talk a bit. I won't give you a lecture on habits. A lot of you kind of know what habits are, right? But I'll spend a little bit of time just kind of deconstructing to give context to the workshop. So what are habits? Now, there is these 2 definitions for 2 of, kind of well-known books on the topic of habits that I really, really like. BJ Fogg, a habit is a behavior that has been repeated enough times to become automatic. And I like this because, yeah, it's a behavior. And it's, again, this idea of, lather, rinse, repeat, right? It's repetitive, and it's repeated so much that it just becomes automatic, right? I wake up in the morning, I get out of bed and I turn on the hot water. I don't even think about it, right? I come down and just feeds my coffee addiction. That's the one that I'm willing to keep, right? So just this idea of like, it's repeated so often, it just becomes automatic. And then this definition that I love, habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. And I love this because it's this idea of the compound interest. It snowballs, right? It's you invest a little bit through tiny habits every single day. You invest a little bit, and it snowballs into a virtuous cycle, right? Where you end up achieving your goals and feeling that you're improving. So I really like this this definition as well. And so some of you might be, has anyone read the Atomic Habit? Yeah, I'm seeing, yes. It's not my favorite. I'll tell you which one is my favorite on my favorite book on habits. I'll talk about it. But look, it's a great piece of work. And so he talks about the habits loop, right? I won't spend too much time on it, but for those who haven't, who are not familiar, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. And I'll use my phone addiction as an example here to illustrate, right? So the habit loop, there are four processes, four things that happen, right, for us to form, you know, and when we're sustaining habits. So first, there's a cue, okay? So my phone rings. There's no notification. I don't get notifications anymore because I'm trying to wake up with my phone. But let's say, okay, there's my phone buzzes, okay? There's a ringtone. There's a notification, right? That's the cue. I have I have a craving, right? A deep desire to pick up my phone, right? To see who has messaged me or if something has happened in the world, right? 3, response. I pick up my phone, right? And I check it out. And the 4, rewards. I get that one, this context, a little hit of dopamine because someone has, well, Agathe has texted me and it made me smile, right? So that's the habit loop. And that happens, again, 40% of your daytime activities, your daily activities are kind of going through this cycle without you really thinking about it, right? And so the first way to start thinking about deconstructing bad habits or building new ones, I'll talk about it. I'll share a few different lenses, a few ways to think about it, but I feel that this is a good place to start, right? If you're thinking about a habit that you want to start or stop doing, thinking about this habit loop can be useful, right? And, you know, I talked about dopamine. The challenge is that habits are hardwired in the brain, right? And that's why it feels hard, right? So understanding how our brain works is really helpful to understand how potentially we can start deconstructing bad habits or start building new one, right? And if you don't mind, I'll use the example. So as I mentioned, I used to drink quite a lot. I've been off alcohol for a year and a half now, which is awesome. But that habit loop, right? If you think about it, my brain did have that glass of wine, and every single time that little reward, oh my God, this is awesome, right? So many times over the 25 years or so that I was drinking, that created in my brain this mush away, right? This massive path, really well lit, really well worn neural pathway, this mush away in my brain from this habit loop, right? When we try to create new habits, what happens in our brain is that we're trying to create a new neural pathway, a new path, right? And my brain automatically was going through the well-lit, well-worn, safe motorway because that's the path well-traveled. Trying to create a new habit, it means in the brain, it means trying to create a new path in an uncharted road, right? Now, there's also the concept of neuroplasticity, where our brain is well able to create these new roads. However, it's a lot harder, right? And it takes a bit of time and conscious effort. And we talked also in the rewards, at the time of the reward, you're also dealing with your brain sending you that kind of like little hit of dopamine. That is why it's so hard to break up with your phone, because all of the apps on it are totally designed to create that, fulfill that habit loop and really create that dopamine hit, right? And that's why change can feel really hard. I'm not saying change is not hard. I'm saying that change can feel hard. Again, once you have a better system, you can kind of overcome this. But I think it's really important to understand how habits are encoded in our brain and how we create new ones. And a lot of us are coaches here, and we're all about, you know, finding our path and fulfillment and joy and happiness. Our bodies, just being a bit provocative maybe, but we're not designed to be happy or have fulfillment and joyful lives, yeah? Our body and our minds, a brain is simply trying to keep us alive, right? And everything that our body is trying to do is keep us in this state of homeostasis. It's a fancy word, basically it's balance, right? It is really hot outside. Your body is trying to moderate your temperature, right? Your body needs water because you're dehydrated. You're starting getting the thirst cues. Hey, drink some water, right? As Agathe is grabbing her water. That was your cue, Agathe. So your body is, and I'm not dismissing, we all should try to feel joy and fulfillment and etc., right? But I think it's also useful to think about from a biological lens. Your body is just trying to keep you stable and balanced when, you know, it's going under stress, right? Or external changes. And what that means is that it's one of the reasons it's really difficult, it feels really hard to give up something, right? Someone mentioned in the chat emotional eating. I was a smoker and a drinker for a really long time, right? When we think of bad habits, and that's why I put it in quotes always, right? The bad habit, so-called, is trying to, unfortunately, it's trying to serve a purpose, right? It served you at some point, and your body, that's what your body knows. So I'll use the example of me smoking, right? Smoked cigarette for, I'm very French, coffee and cigarettes, right? I'm a cliche, guys. But for a very long time, I smoked cigarettes, right? Since I was about 15, right? So that was the state of balance that my body knew, right? That my body and my mind knew, right? You take that away, your body and your mind doesn't know what's going on, right? Because it is trying to get itself back to that sense of balance. And so I'm just sharing this to reframe the idea of bad habits, right? And to try to think, and we'll have an activity now, try to think, rather than judging what's a good or a bad habit, trying to think of, you know, what purpose, need did this habit serve, and is it still serving me? So we'll have a quick, let me do a time check. Yes, we're good. We'll have a quick activity. Juan, can we set up quick breakout rooms?
And
maybe.
We have a question from Agathe. I don't know if you want to take it now.
Oh, sorry. Agathe.
Thanks, Jardine. Thanks, Noemie. It's not a question. It's an example to add on what Noemie was saying about bad habits, and because we've usually, well, emotional eating or bad eating habits are usually something that come up quite often in the coaching sessions I do with my clients. And one person, and Noemie, you do health coaching, so I guess that's something that comes back a lot. And linking those ideas of, you know, your brain is trying to do everything it can to avoid big losses and death. There was this example of this woman who was massively overweight, and through conversation we discovered that she actually shared one day that she had been sexually abused in her childhood. And so unconsciously, you know, she was eating, and, you know, there was all this emotional eating and bad eating habits. And I say bad is actually quite, you know, in the way of unhealthy, and she was trying to combat this and be healthier. But at the end of the day, her being overweight was the way that her brain had found to protect herself from being too attractive. And so, you know, if you're not resolving that issue around being attractive and being in danger, because being slim, being attractive means that I'm in danger of being abused sexually, you'll continue eating. When you touch on that, then you start to understand that you're not in danger anymore and you don't need to keep doing this. And so when you say, oh, that person is so unhealthy, she's making bad choices, well, actually her brain is doing everything it can to prevent her from being raped. So that, I think that's, you know, always very interesting to see that, you know, when you're doing something, it's because your brain is actually trying to do something for you. And it's part of yourself that loves you the most and trying to keep you alive or prevent you from any great loss.
Thank you so much for sharing this example, Agathe. Yeah, it illustrates it perfectly. Is this idea of, you know, rather than imposing judgment on the bad habits, you know, what is the need what is your body telling you? What is the need that your body is trying to fulfill? And in this case, you know, and again, we're designed to keep our bodies are trying to keep us alive, right? And so in that case, that's that sense of safety. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing this. Any other examples? So anyone else wants to share? Great. If we could, so what I'd invite you to do, guys, is maybe can we do 8 minutes, 4 minutes each in groups of 2s? If we have an uneven number, we'll have one group of 3. And maybe, I know that some of you like to spend a bit of time in reflection, right? But maybe in the breakout, if you could have a chat with your partner and think of a habit. So without judgment, it's not good, it's not bad, right? Think of a habit. It can be a good habit, by the way, you know, it's whatever habit you'd like to discuss, try to deconstruct it and map it out, thinking about the habit loop. So the cue, what triggers your habit. So I used my phone as a phone buzzing example. Is it a specific time, place, emotional state? So using that example again of emotional eating, you know, what does that, when does this happen? When does that occur? Craving, what is the urge, the desire that you need to fulfill? What's the response? And then what is the reward? What do you gain? You know, how does this make you feel? Or what is the need that you think is trying to satisfy? And so yeah, maybe 8 minutes, 4 minutes each, and then we can all come back in a few minutes. Does that sound good, guys? Does it make sense?
So it is 2 rounds of 4-minute sessions with 2 different people.
So in group of 2s, partner 1 will go for 4 minutes. We'll talk about their habits for 4 minutes. And then partner 2 will talk for 4 minutes. So 8 minutes in total, and we'll come back in 8.
Funga, I'll let you organize a breakout, right?
I think it's slowly happening.
People are joining, takes a few seconds.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I can just Jason is on her own, so I'm gonna move her with 6.
Oh, are you moving them?
Jason, she's on her own.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna move on another person there. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is everyone in the room?
Vinay, are you around? So
You can just put him in a room of 2.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Number 2 maybe.
And
Yeah. Yeah, we should be fine now.
I think we're good.
So we'll go until I guess about 53, right?
Just the sound in your earphones because of my voice. Welcome back, guys.
I love your energy. How many cups of coffee do you have?
I had quite a bit actually today. I've been up since 6. So yeah, I had coffee at 6. Coffee, yeah, probably 4. I know. I like it. In France, it's not really an addiction, you know, it's just a way of life. Coffee. Is everyone back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the room are all closed now, so everyone should be back.
Fabulous. Anyone wants to share? Did something come up that was interesting, surprising? Yeah. Anyone wants to share?
I mean, I could share. Angeline and I kind of went a little bit off assignment a tiny bit because we instead both chose to talk about habits that we have just are in the process of forming. And like, so we talked a little bit about what enabled us to move forward and start making them into habits. And both of us had similar things about, what made it good? How did we figure out how to make time and space in our lives for it? And then when we encountered hurdles, what were some of the things that we used to kind of counteract it? And like, for example, one of the things that I was struggling with and am struggling with is like, okay, if I make time for this new habit, I have to take that time away from work. And I don't really know how to cope with the anxiety that creates about work and not getting through my workload and so on. And I'm worried that that's going to be the main thing that prevents it from being a consistent habit. And she was talking about recently, she was doing something regularly and then got sick and so got out of that habit. And now like, how do you kind of get back into it and maintain consistency? But then one of the things that we talked about is something that I had seen recently, which was very little. It was like a small little comment, but had more impact than I expected on me, which is that you kind of have to pick your hard. So like being in debt is hard, but being financially disciplined is hard. Pick your hard. Being overweight is hard, but working out is hard. Choose your hard. Being in a job you hate is hard. Finding a new job is hard. Choose your hard. So that was like, okay, well, you know what? If it's going to be hard no matter what, then I guess I'll pick the better hard.
I love this so much. Am I pronouncing your name Mooney? Moon, sorry. I love this so much, Moon. I'm totally gonna steal that. I'll credit you. Moon said so hard. I love this so much.
Choose your hard.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then on your first comment, I mean, as coaches, if you're saying yes to this, what are you saying no to, right? And how are you going to, so if you're saying yes to this new habit, what are you saying no to, and how are you going to deal with that, right? And manage again the time constraints. I love this so much, but choose your heart. Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of your comment about the like your brain is just trying to help you survive. So like it's going to be hard either way.
Yeah. I like this. I like this a lot. Pick your heart, and hopefully with time and repetition and consistency, it becomes less hard because of that, those neural pathways, and you're building a new motorway in your brain. So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Moon, for sharing. It's great. Anyone else wants to share anything that was interesting, surprising? Yeah.
Yeah, Noemi, this is Keyur here. Want to quickly share one nice thing I had in our breakout. So first, thank you for this wonderful opportunity to run the habit loop in a breakout session with our partners. Thank you for that. I was sharing the room with Yale from Singapore, and I was discussing my habit on effective use of social media. And I went through the cues, craving, behavior, and reward. And I was sharing some of the wins which I have already achieved in terms of deleting the social media apps from mobile so that one cue is removed straight away. And then I cannot get rid of all those things from laptop. So I kind of brainstormed to do time boxing to just do that. But then she gave a hack which I loved, and that's why I want to call her out and celebrate that hack and share it with everyone here. So she said that I have, put off my devices and mobile straight away out of my attention and make every digital consumption as non-urgent. And I just use it when kids' homework or some such things is there. Otherwise, my watch will have notifications and I'll just register that and then go back when I have a fixed time for that. So that was a one-step hack which I liked. So I just want to celebrate that. Thank you, Yael, for the tip.
Hey, you want to celebrate your partner too. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I mentioned I'm trying to break up with my phone, so obviously very few notifications. I've deleted all of the problematic apps. One hack, and I'm just sharing because we're on the topic, is nowadays I do a phone Sabbath on Sundays. So Sundays, most of the time, my phone is turned off. It's away. My husband is looking for me because I'm not at home. He'll have to do it the 80s way and just wait for me to come home. And the beautiful thing of it is, like, it was really hard the first weekend, and then I turned my phone back on Monday. I had literally no messages. No one had tried to reach me. There was nothing happening in the world. Like, the world has survived. And again, that consistency of realizing that I don't need it at least one day of the week and just like packing it away has been really helpful to kind of be in the present moment. But thank you so much, Keyur, for sharing and for celebrating your partner. I think it was Yael, right? So yeah, that's awesome. Fabulous. Okay, let me do a quick time check. We have 30 minutes left. We always run out of time on these things. So let's just get through to the next section around vision and goals. So as coaches, we love goals. We love SMART goals. But I want to take a bit of a step back first and just think about it from a different, slightly different angle at the beginning, right? So we've talked about it. Goals are your outcomes, they're your outputs, right? In your system, it's all the processes that support those outcomes, the goals, right? And we all focus a lot on the goals, right? And goals are awesome, right? And again, as coaches, I don't want to, having goals is a critical point to help you kind of determine your vision, where you're going. It sets the path forward, right? However, when it comes to habits, I think we spend sometimes too much energy thinking about the goals and not enough on the systems, right? And I'm using the example of New Year resolutions, right? So I don't know about you, but I don't try anymore because it doesn't work. But over the years, okay, January, I am going to, try to do these things that I've never been able to do consistently, and I'm going to try to do it for a month, and maybe I'm going to be able to sustain that for a couple of days or whatever, and then go back to whatever I was doing before, right? And I certainly did that with alcohol. I had at some point okay, I'm going to do yoga for 30 days, giving up smoking out of nowhere. All of a sudden, I just have to decide and what my goal is, and I'm going to be able to achieve it. And of course, it's really, really hard. And it's really hard because, yeah, you have a goal and that's awesome, but you don't have the system, the habits, the processes in place to support it, right? Another thing that in my case, I didn't have when approaching New Year resolution is actually the identity. And I want to spend a little bit of time on the identity and pose that question, who do you want to be? And I'm very conscious, again, a bit Instagram bumper sticker, okay? But fundamentally, who do you want to be? If you want to be someone who feels strong in your body, your habits need to reflect that identity. So you're gonna have to exercise and eat well. If you want to be the kind of person that, you know, is full of energy and you want to be a super productive person in the office, well, maybe that's one lever, but maybe making sure that you sleep well and so you wake up and you're full of energy is going to be really important to you. And so who do you want to be? And again, we've established there's nothing wrong with you. You are perfect exactly as you are. And at the same time, it's fabulous to want to aspire to self-development and self-growth and being the absolute best version of you, right? And so who is that, right? Because your habits should reflect that identity. Your habits are that natural expression of the person that you want to be. And maybe I'll use an example, and I'm sure there's maybe some of you have a better example, but that's the one that popped up today when I was thinking about this. So very quickly, I participated in this fitness competition called High Rocks. Some of you know because I've talked about it. Some of you may be familiar, but think National Stadium. I think there were like 20,000 people. It was huge. And this quite challenging workout run and etc. Anyway, I'm someone who works out, right? I work out anyway. I'm trying to move my body and eat well and etc. But I knew that in order to achieve my goal of completing the race and completing it in a good time, I was going to have to amp up my training, right? And I consciously thought, well, now I need to live like an athlete. I wasn't trying to win an Olympic medal. I wasn't trying to break records. It was on my birthday, so I wanted to get a good time to prove myself that, you know, I could still be challenged physically and mentally. But I wanted to approach not only the race, but the training as an athlete. And that simple identity mindset shift was really useful on a day-to-day basis. Because now when my husband is like, hey, should we have a pizza night? We have a pizza night every Friday. It's a cherished kind of tradition in my house, right? But when he's asking for pizza night on Tuesday, or, you know, or he wants to stay late, or you know, every day-to-day decision nearly was ran by this idea, I am an athlete now. So I'm going to live and behave like an athlete, right? And so that meant that I didn't have the pizza night on Tuesday. I prioritized my sleep. I ate really well. Of course, I did my training and etc., right? And so what it might say, it might seem just a small kind of inconceptual mindset shift. It's critical. Who do you want to be? Because once that's clear, all of your habits are going to be going through the stress test of, does this, what I'm doing now, does this support this new identity, right? And so again, we're not trying to shame ourselves here, right? We're trying to think and visualize what that ideal version of us you know, that best, rather, it's probably a better word, best version of us might be like, might behave like, and then live accordingly. And in a way, Moon, it also reminds me now of your pick your heart, right? It's like, well, you know, there's going to be challenges along the way, but that's who I want to be. And so therefore I'm going to live my life, you know, at a philosophical, foundational level, but also very practically on a day-to-day at the habit level. I am going to live like that person. I did not want to be someone who woke up every Saturday, Sunday morning, just feeling the deep shame that I used to after a night out drinking. I no longer wanted to be that person. And so I shifted again my identity as someone, well, I'm someone who looks after myself, who exercises, who is good to myself, right? I love myself, and therefore I'm going to live accordingly. So maybe something to kind of, and again, you know, we're not going to crack it all. This could be a, you know, a series of coaching session on its own, right? But I think it's a really useful and critical way to approach any type of change. We won't do it as breakout, but maybe could we spend 3 minutes, 3 minutes on just on your own. I see you, some of you are writing down, so I assume you have paper or laptop or something in front of you. You can just think about it in your head. Really thinking and writing down, you know, what is the identity you want to embody? Are your current habits, right? Is your current system supporting you towards that desired future? And if not, what would a better system might look like? And we'll dive now next into, you know, the recipe for good habits. But can we spend a few minutes, and then if anyone wants to share, maybe another, 2-3 minutes. Is that okay?
Yes, that's a good idea.
Thanks, Kayor. Maybe another minute, and then we'll come back. Erin, I'm just seeing your question now, the 75 soft challenge. I had never heard of this. I'm reading about it now. I have some thoughts. Maybe I'll just hold it if it's okay for you. With you, I'll just hold for now, and then at the end we can talk about it. But generally, not from what I'm reading. I didn't know about this, but from what I'm reading, I don't know, not the best fan. It'd be fairly easy for me. To most people, I think it would be, it's very prescriptive, but we can talk about it afterwards. Thanks for putting this on my radar. I've never heard about it. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of heads looking up. So does anyone want to share their reflection? Yes, Kayur.
Hi, so I just deep dived in this small activity, and that is powerful. So I come from software industry, almost 20 plus years, and this is my new version starting as a coaching career. So I'm at a very early stage of that. My audience are busy techies, and I want to serve them in terms of creating a great life and creating a growth-oriented career. With that thing in background, the identity I create is to be a servant leader for techies. Okay. And my current habits are not yet dialed in to support them in giving value. So I want to improve that system to create and share more content so that it directly helps my target audience and serve them better, serve them deeper. So that's my quick debrief on the activity.
Yeah. Okay, so you have a general direction of travel. Thanks for sharing, Kayur. Anyone else would like to share?
Thank you.
If anyone would like to share, you can just unmute yourself. I'd like to think this is a safe space. No, it's okay. Let's continue. Okay, so how do we we're arriving in the final part of this mini habit workshop, and really, how do we get our ducks in a row? What is the recipe to new habits? Has anyone read Tiny Habits? I know someone in the group chat has mentioned that they had read it. So Tiny Habits is one of my absolute favorite book, actually probably the favorite book on habits. I would encourage anyone and also coaches to read it. It's great. So let me do a quick time check. So behavior happens when, so behavior, habit, action, right? Happens when motivation, oh, but you said that motivation was overrated. Bear with me. When motivation, ability, and prompt, cue, trigger, right? Motivation, ability, prompt, all happens at the same time. So a habit happens when motivation, ability, and prompt happens all at the same time. How does that work? Okay, this isn't the prettiest slide, but bear with me. Let me walk you through, okay? Think of any behavior, any habit, any behavior, okay? Along those two axes. On one hand, you have motivation. Motivation can be low. Motivation can be high. On the other axis, you have ability, right? So something can be really easy to do. Something can be really hard to do, okay? If your motivation is high, am I able to, okay. If your motivation is high and it's really easy to do, you're here, right? Can you see? Yes, you're here, right? And we know that prompts succeed here. If your motivation is to do something is really low and you're also not very good at it, or it's really hard to do, you're gonna end up here. Anyone can think of like a case where, or an example, when the motivation is really high, but the ability is really low, but somehow you're still able to sustain the behavior. Anyone has an example where the motivation would be really high, but the ability quite low? but it's in such a way that you still be able to. So the first one that comes to my mind is the New Year resolution, right? You know, you're in a fitness challenge, or you decide to give up something or start something for a little bit. Your motivation is going to be super high. You're super pumped, right? It's hard to do, but you're super pumped. And so you're going to sustain it for a while, and then it's just going to drop back, right? The ability is, so yesterday's workout, sorry, I talk about workout a lot because that's kind of my world. Yesterday's workout, right? My motivation when I put on my gym clothes was at all-time low, okay? All-time low. I had absolutely no desire to go and work out, right? My ability, quite easy to do. And I'm not talking about the actual workout. I'm just talking about the idea of showing up, because the gym is literally 2 minutes walk from my house, right? So all I had to do was, I was already in my gym clothes. All I had to do was, it was so easy to do that even though my motivation was super low, sorry, actually I should do it here. Although my motivation was super low, I was still able to the prompt succeeded because it's so easy to do. I'm thinking also high motivation, but low ability. You know, you often hear these stories of like this mama bear woman, right, who jump on a train track or push the car with her bare hands. Okay, maybe I'm exaggerating, but who demonstrated this superhuman ability because her child was in danger. Ability pretty low, right? You know, I mean, assuming that she's not like, you know, superhuman, but the motivation is so high, right? That motivation is so high, you can do incredible things so the prompt succeeds, right? And I shared at the beginning, motivation is overrated, right? And I still firmly stand by that comment. It is important, but if you think about lifestyle behaviors, think about at work, think about even interactions, you know, that you may have with other people, and think about, you know, behavior in the sense that these are two levers, right? Motivation, ability, that you can use in your favor to make something happen. So B equal map, that's the BJ Fogg's behavior change model, is motivation, ability, and the prompt all happen at the same time. And in a way, and I didn't hear, but you could really easily map it out with the habit loop as well. I feel that it just adds a layer, because now it's like, well, my motivation for something is really low, but I want to make it happen, right? I'm picking my heart, right? I want to make it happen. So how do my motivation right now is very low and might not change. How do I make the new behavior as easy as possible so I'm not relying on motivation, right? I want to, I DJ for fun, right? My ability at the very beginning, very, very low, inexistent, right? It felt really hard. I had absolutely no skills. It was really tough, right? But my motivation was really high because I love music. I love sharing music. Anyone who knows me knows that it's a huge part of my life. My motivation was so high that then I just decided to practice 20 minutes every day, woke up very early in the morning to do it, and then at the weekend on my balcony for my husband, right? So ability at the beginning, very, very hard to do. Motivation was super high. And so the behavior happens. And again, we talked about automatic repeated action, and naturally we get a bit better usually as we go on. Any questions, any comments on this? You can ask in the chat or unmute yourself. Elise has a question. Can you describe more prompt? Do you want to unmute yourself, Elise, and ask the question?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sorry, it's maybe because I'm French, but what do you mean behind prompt? To be really clear, because we are using a lot prompt recently with artificial intelligence and stuff like that. So it's not really clear for me what you put behind prompt. Motivation plus ability plus prompt equal change. Can you give me maybe the French traduction if you can, or the description you mean behind prompt?
Yeah. So and thank you, Elise, for asking and clarifying. And it is not at all because you're French. Being French is awesome, as we've all established, right? And I think also maybe the confusion comes because there's a lot of different terminology, and because it's BJ Fogg's model, I didn't want to change the terminology here. But a lot of the terminology that we've been using throughout this workshop has been around Q, right? So Q, trigger, maybe does that, I'm trying to think of the word in French. I don't actually know, Géraldine. How would you say in French Q trigger, right? Yeah, so, but does Q trigger or trigger help, Elise?
Mm-hmm.
Something
Yes,
happens,
yes.
right? And I think
Okay.
I think it will also make more sense in the on the next slide. I'm being very mindful of the time. Let me delete. Does anyone know how? Oh yeah. Okay, so BJ Fogg has given us a recipe card to create new habits, right? And it goes as follows. After I prompt, cue, trigger, something happens, right? That's your anchor moment. I will, that's the behavior, habit, something that you do. Then I will celebrate something that you do or tell yourself in order to tell your brain, hey, this is awesome. I love this new behavior, even if you have to fake it till you make it, right? So I'll just use an example. Let's say I want to, I'm not drinking enough water, okay? After every time I use the bathroom, TMI, every single time I use the bathroom during the day, I will drink a small glass of water, and then I will celebrate. And the celebration, by the way, the brain is incredible. The celebration could just be a little, yay, well done. The celebration, right, could also come from the app. I don't know if you guys are using some of the fitness trackers and etc. But in the context of water, oftentimes the fitness tracker has a little section for water. So you can say, yes, I drank some water. You can say it, and you get that little hit of dopamine, that little celebration that, yes, I did it. One that maybe a lot of us do, after I brush my teeth, I will floss, and then I will celebrate by smiling in the mirror with my biggest smile and look at my beautiful teeth, right? A lot of it, if you think of the behavior that you're already doing, a lot of it, maybe not the celebration parts, but this, you know, so there's an anchor moment, there's a trigger, there's a cue. After I will, then I will celebrate, right? And again, the celebration is really important because it is reminding yourself that you are safe. And although this is a new behavior, an uncharted path, and therefore feels a bit uncomfortable and feels hard, it is ultimately in your benefits. And another key concept, and that might be pretty clear from the title of the book, but really I love this, is don't think small, think tiny. After I wake up, I will do 5 squats. I will do 2 squats. After I, anyone has any examples? Sorry, Priya, yes, you raised your hand.
Yeah, mine was more a question. You're looking for an example, I can wait, yeah.
Oh, trigger déclenchement. Thank you, Yael.
An example that was given by a friend was about running. And we imagine running for 20 minutes, 30 minutes at night. And the PT had told her, no matter what, even if it's 5 minutes at the beginning, that's okay. And this is how, you know, she got into the routine, and then 5 and 7 and 10, etc.
Yeah, really. And in my another line again, sorry, maybe I have too many workout examples, but another example is you want to build a habit of going to the gym. After I finish work, I will go to the gym. I want to exercise. I will go. I will drive there, or I will walk there, right, with my gym bag, or I will do 5 minutes on the treadmill, right? Like really thinking tiny is so important. Thank you so much, Yael. It's actually a really good example, right? It's like, well, obviously, ideally, and that maybe goes back to Erin's point around the 75. It's without, just in the interest of time, I won't go into too much detail, but it's a very prescriptive, it sounds quite a hardcore kind of nutrition, exercise, 1 gallon of water, read 10 pages of nonfiction book, take a progress picture. And I think that happens every day, correct? Yeah, so, I mean, should you be doing this? Well, yeah, of course, awesome, right? It's like, that's very aligned with my definition of, you know, how I want to, my vision for myself and how I want to live my life, right? That might not be for everyone. And also to go from being a couch potato to this, right, is going to be really, really hard. So, you know, we talked about the virtuous cycle at the beginning and the fact that good habits, you know, building that self-efficacy and us changing when we feel good about ourselves. I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know, right? But a lot of people wouldn't feel great about this because they're going to kickstart, right? All with loads of motivation. And then fall off the wagon because it seems that to go from 0 to this would be quite hard to sustain. And then they're going to feel awful about themselves. And now there are, so if that works for people, it's awesome. I'm not, you know, criticizing this, it's awesome. But just in the spirit, again, of tiny habits, I think that starting as small as possible, even if you're feeling a bit silly about it, and building, celebrating and building that confidence, feeling good about yourself that you're able, well, look, I can't run 20 minutes per day, but I can go for a 5-minute walk twice a day or 15-minute walk twice a day. I can do that. And I celebrate afterwards and I track it maybe, and I feel really good about myself. And then you can build on that, because we know we feel better when we change, when we feel better about ourselves. I'm very mindful of the time, guys, because we're already 2 minutes. I just really quickly, there's only like few slides left. I'll just really quickly walk you through. So again, thinking about your habits, you know, can you develop your own recipe, your recipe card for a tiny habit, something that you can stick to even on your worst day, right? On your best of days, you're going to follow this incredible holistic program, right? But what can you stick to on your worst day? Very quickly, if you allow me just another minute or so, So the Tiny Habits recipe card, I think, is a really good place to start when designing new habits. Designing because you're going to have to go and test bed it, potentially, you know, say, well, this is too much. It's not tiny enough. I can't sustain that. Rethink it, right? So I think it's a good place to start. And then you can kind of add layers to stress test your new habit, right? So that's from James Clear. He talks about how can you make it obvious? Can you make it more attractive, you know? Can you make the new habit easier? So again, we talked about motivation versus ability, right? How can you make it satisfying, right? You could do the same for a bad habit that you're trying to, so-called bad habit that you're trying to break, right? How can you make it less obvious? How can you remove the triggers, right? Either physical or otherwise. How can you make it less attractive, make it harder to do? And make it harder to satisfy. And actually on the make it satisfying, you can pull that lever through the celebration, but it's incredibly satisfying when your habits are aligned with your values, right? So that in itself can be incredibly satisfying. Another stress test, I won't go through that. You all know what SMART goals are, but you know, another layer as you're designing your tiny habit cards is to think, is it smart enough? Can you add more detail, more specific detail to make it work, and then go and test bed it. And then another stress test, and I think that's, you know, probably one of the most fundamental, is, can I actually stick to this on my worst day? And so yesterday, I was just mentioned my, you know, workout. I ended up having a fantastic workout, but I really did not want to go, right? But it was so easy because my gym is next door. To me, that's something that I can stick to on my worst day. Would I be someone who exercised nearly every day if my gym was an hour away? I don't know, maybe not, right? But I make it really easy for me so I can sustain that on my worst day. So just to wrap up, and then I'll let those who absolutely have to go, and then we can continue for a few questions for those who can stay. What do you do when you fall down? You try not to miss twice. Again, you don't shame yourself, you don't self-load, but you try to get back. Overall, the trajectory, the trend is still in the right direction, right? If you're not following the habits that you had set for yourself, it's okay. Just, you know, get back on the horse, but try to not miss twice. Perfection is not the goal, right? Consistency is, resilience is, right? So again, it's okay if you skip a day or because you're not looking for perfection here. You're trying to look for consistency, repeated small actions that are repeated consistently until they become automatic. And then just really, again, think like a scientist, right? And take a design approach. I work in innovation. So that one maybe is a bit more natural for me to think in that manner, but really think about it. There's nothing wrong with you. It's your system. So how can you test bed, experiment, and try to you have a theory, like a scientist, you have a theory, you're trying to prove it or refute it, you're gathering evidence, data, to support whether this habit is going to serve you or not. And then if it doesn't, you assess and you refine. So in closing, we've discussed the roadmap to thriving habits. Sorry, we're running a bit out of behind time. So some of the key elements to a roadmap to thriving habits, I really think that vision and that the idea of who do you want to be and what's your identity is really going to be important. Try to break it into tiny and even tinier habits. Build the consistency, execute, build the consistency, celebrate even the smallest achievements, give your brain all of that positive reinforcement that you're doing great, that you're able to achieve your goals. And finally, and probably the most important, always be kind to yourself. We can continue with takeaway. This is my, these are my details. I'll ask the GoMasterCoach team to share. If I could have an ask for those who are on Instagram, if you could follow me on Instagram. You can mute me afterwards, but I'm trying to build, slowly build my following. I don't post a lot, but so that would be my call to action. Email me, message me if you'd like to continue the conversation. I'm always delighted to meet other coaches. So if you want to meet up for coffee, for those who are in Singapore over a call, I would love to continue the conversation or just get to know you. Thank you so much. Apologies, we ran a bit out of time, but I'm so grateful for you and your comments, your questions, and your attention. I really hope that you found this useful.